The winter wind howled through the cracked seal of my studio apartment window, a mournful sound that matched the ache in my chest as I stared at the eviction notice taped to my refrigerator. 3 days. That's all I had left before they'd change the locks and toss everything I owned onto the sidewalk. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through my phone contacts, searching for the number my roommate Jenna had scribbled on a napkin before she disappeared 2 weeks ago. Some guy named Dante, who supposedly bought debts and gave people time to pay. Loan shark, probably. But what choice did I have? The space heater in the corner clicked and wheezed, fighting a losing battle against December's brutal cold. I pulled my grandmother's quilt tighter around my shoulders, the threadbare fabric offering more emotional comfort than actual warmth. The phone screen blurred through my tears as I found the number I'd saved under D-last resort. My thumb hovered over the call button. Once I made this call, there would be no going back. I'd be indebted to whatever lowlife Jenna had gotten mixed up with. But the alternative was the street, in winter, with nowhere to go and no one to turn to. I pressed call before I could lose my nerve. The phone rang once, twice. On the third ring, someone picked up, but there was only silence on the other end. No greeting, no sound, except for what might have been classical music playing softly in the background. Vivaldi, maybe. Hello? My voice came out as barely a whisper. I cleared my throat and tried again. Is this Dante? Jenna gave me your number, said you might be able to help with a financial situation. More silence. Then a man's voice, low and controlled with a slight accent I couldn't quite place. Who is this? My name is Arya. Arya Winters. I'm Jenna's roommate. Well, I was until I trailed off, not sure how to explain that Jenna had vanished in the middle of the night, leaving behind only half her belongings and a terrifying amount of unpaid rent. I need help. The landlord is evicting me in 3 days, and I can't. How did you get this number? The voice had changed, sharpened like a blade being drawn from its sheath. My stomach clenched. I told you, Jenna wrote it down. She said if I ever needed. Jenna. He repeated the name slowly, as if tasting it. Describe her. Blonde, about 5'6". She had a tattoo of a butterfly on her wrist. My confusion was growing. Look, if this is a bad time, I can. Where is she now? I have no idea. She left 2 weeks ago. Didn't say where she was going. Fear crept up my spine. Something about his tone, the intensity of his questions. This wasn't right. Maybe I have the mistaken number. Sorry to bother. You said your name is Arya Winters. It wasn't a question. The way he said my name made my blood turn to ice water in my veins. How did he know my last name? I hadn't said it. I have to go, I said quickly, my finger moving toward the end call button. If you hang up, you'll regret it. I froze. There was no threat in his voice, just cold certainty. Arya Winters, 26 years old, 42B Brookside Avenue, studio apartment, works at the Riverside Library Tuesday through Saturday, takes the number 9 bus, gets coffee from the cart on 5th Street every morning at 8:15. He paused. Should I continue? The phone slipped from my numb fingers, clattering onto the hardwood floor. I scrambled to pick it up, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. Who are you? The question, Miss Winters, is who Jenna really was, and why she gave you this particular number. This makes no sense. My voice shook. She was just my roommate. We found each other on a roommate matching site 6 months ago. I don't know anything about. She lived with you for 6 months and you know nothing about her? She kept to herself, paid rent in cash, worked odd hours. I was babbling now, panic making my words tumble over each other. I didn't pry. She seemed nice enough, helped me when my cat was sick, brought me soup when I had the flu. Just normal roommate stuff. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing, measured and calm, while I felt like I was about to hyperventilate. Miss Winters, he finally said, I'm afraid you've called a number that was not meant for you. This is not a service for people with financial difficulties. Then what? However, he continued, the fact that you have this number creates a problem for both of us. My mouth went dry. I don't want any trouble. I'll forget I ever called, delete the number, pretend this never happened. A soft, humorless laugh. If only it were that simple. Tell me, has anyone else contacted you about Jenna since she left? No, no one. Then I remembered. Wait, actually, yes. 2 men came by a few days ago, said they were friends of hers, wanted to know if she'd left anything behind. Describe them. Both tall. One had a scar through his eyebrow. They had Russian accents, I think. They seemed. I struggled for the right word. Intense. They made me uncomfortable, so I told them she didn't leave anything and asked them to leave. And did they? Eventually. They gave me a card, said to call if I remembered anything. I glanced at my kitchen counter where the black business card sat. No name, just a phone number embossed in silver. Listen to me very carefully, Arya. The use of my first name somehow made everything more terrifying. Do not call that number. Do not contact those men. And do not leave your apartment tonight. What? Why? What's going on? I'll be there in 20 minutes. Wait, what? No. Panic seized me. You can't come here. I don't even know who you are. My name is Dominic Salvatore, and whether you realize it or not, you've just become involved in something that could get you killed. Those men who visited you, they weren't Jenna's friends. They're looking for something she took from them, something they think you might have. But I don't have anything. She didn't leave anything except some clothes and books. They don't know that, and they won't believe you when you tell them. His voice softened slightly. 20 minutes, Arya. Lock your door. Don't answer for anyone except me. How will I know it's you? I'll knock 3 times, pause, then twice more. The line went dead. I stood frozen in my tiny apartment, the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the silence. This couldn't be happening. I just wanted help with my rent, and now some stranger who knew everything about me was coming to my apartment because my disappearing roommate was apparently involved with dangerous people. I ran to my door, checking that both locks were engaged and sliding the chain into place for good measure. Not that it would stop anyone truly determined to get in. The door was cheap, hollow core. A strong kick would probably splinter it. 17 minutes. That's how long I had to decide what to do. I could call the police. Tell them, what? That I'd accidentally called the mistaken contact, and now someone was coming over? That my ex-roommate might have been involved in something shady? They'd think I was paranoid or crazy. I could run, pack a bag and disappear before this Dominic arrived. But where would I go? I had $43 in my bank account and nowhere to stay. And he knew where I worked. He'd find me. My cat Mochi rubbed against my legs, meowing for dinner, blissfully unaware that our world was collapsing. I picked him up, burying my face in his gray fur, trying to slow my racing heart. What have I gotten us into? I whispered. A memory surfaced suddenly. 3 months ago, Jenna had come home at 3 a.m., clothes torn, a bruise darkening her cheek. She'd brushed off my concerns, said she'd had too much to drink and fallen. But she'd been sober, I was sure of it. And the way she'd looked over her shoulder before entering our apartment, the way she'd triple-checked the locks. There had been other things, too. The way she paid rent in cash, all was exact change. The burner phone I'd once seen her destroy and throw away. The time I'd come home early from work to find her burning papers in the sink. The smoke alarm shrieking while she frantically waved a dish towel at it. I'd ignored it all, told myself it wasn't my business. I needed a roommate who paid on time, and Jenna did. That was all that mattered. Except now it did matter. Now whatever she'd been running from had found me. 15 minutes left. I paced my small apartment, Mochi watching from his perch on the back of the couch. Should I look through Jenna's things? See if she had left something behind that I'd missed? But Dominic had said not to leave the apartment, and her room was down the hall, outside my unit. The room. I'd kept it locked since she left, hoping she'd come back for her things, hoping she'd pay what she owed. But what if? A sound in the hallway made me freeze. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. It had only been 12 minutes. It couldn't be Dominic yet. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I held my breath, watching the shadow under the door gap, waiting. No knock came. Instead, I heard something worse. The subtle scratch of metal on metal. Someone was picking my lock. I grabbed my phone, backing toward my bedroom, typing 911 but not hitting call yet. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just Mrs. Chen from next door, confused again, trying the mistaken door. The scratching stopped. The doorknob turned slowly. The chain caught, holding the door closed. But through the 2-inch gap, I saw a face. The man with the scarred eyebrow from earlier. His lips curved into a smile that made my skin crawl. "Hello, little bird," he said in accented English. "We need to talk about your friend Jenna." "I told you, I have no idea where she is," I said, hating how my voice shook. Please leave or I'm calling the police. He laughed, a sound like grinding glass. You do that? By the time they arrive, we'll be long gone, and so will you. A hand reached through the gap, thick fingers groping for the chain. I ran forward, slamming my shoulder against the door, crushing his fingers. He cursed in Russian, yanking his hand back. You're going to regret that, he snarled. The door shuddered as he threw his weight against it. The chain held, but barely. Another hit like that and it would snap. 10 minutes. Dominic had said 20 minutes, and it had only been 10. The door exploded inward with the second impact, the chain tearing from the frame, wood splintering. The scarred man filled the doorway, massive and menacing, with his companion visible behind him. There was nowhere to run in a studio apartment, nowhere to hide. Now, the scarred man said, stepping inside, let's try this again. Where is the drive? What drive? I'm lost here. He moved faster than someone his size should be able to, crossing the room in 2 strides, his hand wrapping around my throat before I could scream. Not squeezing yet, just holding. A threat, a promise. Jenna took something that belongs to us. A flash drive containing sensitive information. We know she lived here. We know you were close. We weren't close, I gasped. She was just my roommate. Check her room if you don't believe me. She didn't leave anything. His grip tightened slightly. We already checked. Nothing there, which means either she has it or you do. And since we can't find her, I don't have it. I swear. He studied my face, dark eyes cold and calculating. Maybe you're telling the truth. Maybe not. Either way, you're coming with us. If Jenna cares about you at all, she'll surface when she learns we have you. She won't. We weren't friends. She won't care. Then that's very unfortunate for you. He started dragging me toward the door. I grabbed the door frame, holding on desperately. Please, I don't know anything. That's when I heard it. 3 knocks on the ruined door, a pause, then 2 more. The scarred man froze, his head snapping toward the entrance. A figure stood in the destroyed doorway backlit by the hallway fluorescence. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. As he stepped into the light, I saw his face. Sharp cheekbones, steel-colored eyes, dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on a magazine cover. Not in my destroyed apartment. I believe the lady asked you to leave, Victor, he said, his voice calm, almost conversational. The same voice from the phone call, but somehow more dangerous in person. Victor's hand released my throat, moving instead to the gun I now noticed tucked into his waistband. Salvatore, this doesn't concern you. I'm afraid it does. Dominic stepped further into the room, and I noticed 2 more men behind him, both armed, though their weapons remained holstered. You see, Miss Winters is under my protection now. Since when? Victor's partner spoke for the first time, his accent thicker than Victor's. She has nothing to do with your organization. Since she called my private number 10 minutes ago, Dominic replied, his storm cloud eyes never leaving Victor's face. Which makes her my responsibility. She has something that belongs to us, Victor insisted, or knows where to find it. Then you should have moved faster. Dominic's smile was razor sharp. Now you can leave voluntarily, or my associates can assist you. Your choice. The tension in the room was suffocating. I stood frozen between them, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. Victor's hand twitched toward his gun. I wouldn't, Dominic said softly. Not unless you want to start a war between our families. Is one flash drive really worth that? For a moment, I thought Victor would draw anyway. Then, slowly, he stepped back. This isn't over, Salvatore. The drive contains information about all of us, if it gets out. If it surfaces, I'll handle it, Dominic interrupted. Now leave, before I change my mind about letting you walk out of here. Victor stared at him for another long moment, then nodded to his partner. They moved toward the door, but Victor paused, looking back at me. If you're lying, little bird, if you have it, or know where it is, we will find out. And Salvatore won't always be there to protect you. Then they were gone, their footsteps echoing down the hallway. I collapsed against the wall, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. My throat ached where Victor had grabbed me, and I could feel the bruises already forming. Dominic said something to his men in Italian, and they disappeared into the hallway, presumably to make sure Victor was really leaving. Then he turned to me, and for the first time, I got a good look at the man whose mistaken call I'd made. He was younger than his voice had suggested, maybe early 30s, with the kind of dangerous beauty that made you want to stare even as every instinct screamed at you to run. His suit was impeccable despite the late hour, not a wrinkle or speck of dust. A gold watch glinted on his wrist, and I caught sight of intricate tattoos peeking out from under his collar. Are you hurt? He asked, moving closer but stopping when I flinched. I'm not going to harm you, Arya. My door, I said stupidly, looking at the destroyed entrance to my apartment. They broke my door. I'll have it fixed tonight, he said, as if that was a perfectly normal thing to arrange at 10 p.m. But you can't stay here. It's not safe. Nothing makes sense here. My voice broke. I just needed help with rent. Jenna said Dante could help, gave me a number. But you're not Dante, are you? You're not a loan shark. No, he agreed. I'm not Dante. And this isn't his number. He pulled out his phone, frowning at the screen. The number you called is my private line. Only a handful of people have it. The fact that Jenna gave it to you. He trailed off, his expression darkening. She knew exactly what she was doing. What do you mean? She knew you'd eventually get desperate enough to call. She knew I'd answer, and she knew I'd have no choice but to protect you once you'd made contact. His jaw tightened. She used you as insurance. Insurance for what? None of this was making sense. Who are you people? What was on that drive Victor mentioned? Dominic studied me for a moment, seeming to weigh his words. Have you ever heard of the 5 families? I shook my head. We control most of the organized crime on the eastern seaboard. My family, the Salvatoris, are one of them. Victor and his associates represent the Bratva, the Russian outfit trying to establish territory here. He moved to my window, glancing out at the street below. Jenna worked for us. Specifically, she worked for me. My stomach dropped. Jenna was in the Mafia. She was an information specialist, quite talented with computers and surveillance. Unfortunately, she was also ambitious. 3 weeks ago, she copied files from our servers, files containing sensitive information about all 5 families' operations. Then she disappeared. And you think I have these files? No, Dominic said, turning back to me. If you had them, you'd either be trying to sell them or you'd already be dead. But Jenna giving you my number? That was deliberate. She knew if you called me, I'd protect you. She made you my problem. Why would you protect me? You don't even know me. His eyes met mine, and something flickered in their depths. Because despite what you might think, I have rules, codes I follow. You're an innocent in this. Jenna dragged you into our world without your knowledge or consent. That makes you my responsibility now. For how long? Until we find Jenna and recover what she stole. And then, he didn't answer, which was answer enough. I stood up slowly, Mochi meowing and winding around my legs. So what now? You said I can't stay here. You'll come with me. I have a secure location where you'll be safe while my people track down Jenna. I can't just leave. I have work tomorrow. I have a life here. Not anymore, he said simply. The moment Victor saw you, your old life ended. Even if I walk away right now, they'll be back. And next time, they won't be interested in talking. The truth of his words hit me like a physical blow. In one phone call, my entire existence had been upended. This can't be happening. Pack what you need, Dominic instructed, his tone gentling slightly. Clothes for a week, anything essential. We need to leave soon. My cat, bring him. I'm not so cruel as to separate you from your pet. I moved mechanically to gather my things, throwing clothes into a duffel bag without really seeing them. My hands shook as I packed Mochi's food and litter, his favorite toy. This morning, my biggest worry had been making rent. Now I was packing to go into hiding with a mafia boss because my ex-roommate had stolen information that could start a criminal war. Arya, Dominic's voice made me look up. He was standing in my tiny kitchen, examining the eviction notice on my refrigerator. How long have you been struggling financially? Heat flooded my cheeks. That's none of your business. Everything about you is now my business, he countered. Answer the question. Since Jenna left, she paid more than half the rent because she had the bigger room. When she disappeared, I couldn't cover it all. I zipped up my bag with more force than necessary. Satisfied? You work at the library? Part-time. I'm finishing my master's degree online, library science. I laughed bitterly. Lot of good that does me now. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Your rent is paid through the end of your lease. The landlord will also be compensated for the door and any damages. I stared at him. You can't just. I can, and I did. He pocketed his phone. Are you ready? Why? I demanded. Why would you do that? Because you're under my protection now. That means all of your problems become my problems. He moved toward the door. We need to go. I wanted to argue, to refuse his help, to maintain some shred of independence in this insane situation. But what choice did I have? Victor knew where I lived. The door was destroyed. And despite everything, I believed Dominic when he said he would protect me. I picked up Mochi's carrier, my duffel bag, and followed a mafia boss out of my apartment, possibly forever. His men were waiting in the hallway, one stationed at each end. They fell into step behind us as we walked to the elevator. No one spoke. The building was eerily quiet, as if even my neighbors sensed danger and were hiding behind locked doors. Outside, a black Bentley idled at the curb, engine purring. One of Dominic's men opened the rear door, and I slid inside, the leather seats butter soft beneath me. Dominic entered from the other side, giving instructions to the driver in rapid Italian. As we pulled away from my building, I watched my old life disappear through the rear window. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, was all he said. We drove in silence through the city, eventually entering a neighborhood I'd only seen in magazines. Mansions set back from the road behind gates and walls, each one more impressive than the last. The Bentley turned into a gated driveway, security cameras tracking our progress as we wound through manicured grounds. The house, though mansion was more accurate, was a masterpiece of modern architecture. Glass and stone in sharp angles, lit from within like a jewel box. It should have been cold, intimidating. Instead, it was breathtaking. You live here? I asked as the car stopped in a circular driveway. One of my homes, Dominic replied, as casual as if everyone had multiple estates. You'll be safe here. The security is impenetrable. Inside the house was even more impressive. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, artwork that belonged in museums. A woman appeared as we entered, older, dressed in simple but expensive clothes. Mr. Salvatore, she said with a slight bow. The guest suite has been prepared as you requested. Thank you, Elena. He turned to me. Elena manages the household. Anything you need, ask her. Elena's eyes were kind as she looked at me, taking in my rumpled clothes and shell-shocked expression. You must be exhausted, dear. Let me show you to your room. I followed her up a floating staircase, Dominic's footsteps behind us. The guest suite was bigger than my entire apartment, a sitting room, bedroom, and bathroom that looked like it belonged in a five-star hotel. This is too much, I protested, turning to Dominic. I can't. You can and you will, he interrupted. Get some rest. We'll talk more in the morning. He turned to leave, then paused. Arya, you're safe here. You have my word. After he left, I sat on the edge of the massive bed, Mochi exploring his new surroundings, safe. The word felt foreign. I'd thought I was safe in my apartment, in my ordinary life, but that had been an illusion. Jenna had brought danger to my door the moment she'd moved in. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello, little bird. Victor's voice sent ice through my veins. Enjoying Salvatore's hospitality? How did you get this number? I have my ways. Listen carefully. Salvatore might think he's protecting you, but he's just using you as bait for Jenna. The moment he has what he wants, you become expendable. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself why a man like him would go to such trouble for a nobody like you. You made an accidental call, yes, but that alone wouldn't warrant this level of protection. He paused. Unless he knows something about you that you don't. What are you talking about? Ask him about your father, Arya. Ask him why the name Winters matters. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. My father had died when I was 3. Car accident, my mother had always said. But she'd been evasive about details, changed the subject whenever I asked questions. A knock at the door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Elena entered with a tray of food. Mr. Salvatore thought you might be hungry. The aroma of soup and fresh bread made my stomach growl, reminding me I hadn't eaten since lunch. Thank you. She set the tray on a small table by the window. If you need anything else, there's an intercom by the bed. The kitchen is always staffed. After she left, I tried to eat, but Victor's words kept echoing in my mind. Ask him about your father. What could Dominic possibly know about a man who died over 20 years ago? Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of black cars and scarred faces. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows and Dominic standing in my doorway, looking like he'd stepped out of a business magazine in another perfectly tailored suit. We need to talk, he said without preamble. I sat up, disoriented. What time is it? 8 a.m. Get dressed. Breakfast is waiting. He disappeared, leaving me to scramble for clothes and dignity. I found him on a terrace overlooking the grounds, a spread of food on the table that could have fed 10 people. He was reading something on a tablet, coffee cup in hand, looking infuriatingly composed. Victor called me last night, I said without preamble. His eyes snapped to mine, suddenly alert. What did he say? He said you're using me as bait, that once you have what you want from Jenna, I become expendable. I watched his face carefully. He also said to ask you about my father. Dominic set down his tablet slowly. Your father. He died when I was 3. Car accident. What could you possibly know about him? Sit down, Arya. I prefer to stand. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. For the first time, he looked tired, human. Your father's name was Anthony Winters. How do you know that? Because he worked for my father. He was our family's accountant until he decided to cooperate with the FBI. The world tilted. I gripped the back of a chair for support. What? He was going to testify against us, provide financial records that would have destroyed our entire operation. Dominic's voice was carefully neutral. He never got the chance. The car accident, I whispered, wasn't an accident. I sank into the chair, my legs unable to hold me anymore. Your family killed my father? Not my family. The Petrov family, Victor's people. They saw an opportunity to eliminate a threat and make it look like they were doing us a favor. His steel gray eyes held mine. My father would have handled it differently. Protection, relocation, something that didn't involve a 3-year-old losing her father. But you knew. All this time, you knew who I was the moment I said my name. Yes, that's why you're protecting me. Guilt. Partly, he admitted, but also because it's the right thing to do. You've been dragged into our world twice now, first as a child, now as an adult, both times through no fault of your own. I stood abruptly, needing distance from him. I want to leave. You can't. Not yet. You can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Arya. But if you leave, Victor will take you. And unlike me, he has no compunction about hurting innocents to get what he wants. This is insane. All of it. Jenna, the flash drive, my father. I stopped, a horrible thought occurring to me. Did Jenna know? About my father? Dominic was quiet for a moment. I believe so, yes. That's why she chose me as a roommate. Why she gave me your number. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. God, has anyone in my life been real, or has it all been manipulation? Your life has been real, Dominic said quietly. Your education, your work, your friendships, none of that was manufactured. Jenna may have sought you out deliberately, but everything you've built, you built yourself. I wanted to argue, to rage, to demand he let me go. But underneath the anger was bone-deep exhaustion. In 24 hours, everything I'd believed about my life had been shattered. What happens now? I asked. Now we find Jenna. We recover the drive. And then, he paused. Then you have a choice to make. What choice? Whether to disappear completely, start fresh somewhere far from here, or ... quote. Or his gaze was intense, unreadable. Or stay, stay. Here, with you. The suggestion was so absurd I almost laughed. Why would I do that? Because you're already in our world whether you wanted to be or not. Because you're intelligent, educated, and have skills we could use. And because he stopped himself. Because what? Because I find myself reluctant to let you go. The admission hung between us, charged with possibility and danger. I should have been appalled. He was a criminal, part of the family that had, however, indirectly, caused my father's death. But standing there in the morning light with his eyes holding mine, I felt something else entirely. My phone rang, shattering the moment. Unknown number. Don't, Dominic started, but I'd already answered. Arya. It was Jenna's voice, but different. Scared. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Jenna, where are you? I can't tell you, but I need you to know I never meant for this to happen. I thought I could protect you by giving you his number. I thought, her voice broke, I was wrong about everything. Just come back. Whatever you took, give it back. Dominic said, I can't. It's too late. They have me. My blood froze. Who has you? It doesn't matter. But they want the drive, and I can't give it to them. Why not? Because I destroyed it. I heard Dominic curse softly beside me. He was close enough to hear her voice. You destroyed it? I repeated. Then what? I destroyed the original, but I made copies first. Insurance, I thought, except now. She took a shaky breath. One copy is hidden, somewhere, only you can find it. Jenna, I'm confused. Your favorite book, the one you read over and over. Check inside. Her voice was urgent now. Give it to Dominic. Tell him it has everything, accounts, routes, names, everything the families want to keep hidden. He'll know what to do. Jenna, where are you? Let us help. It's too late for me, but you still have a chance. Trust Dominic, Arya. Despite everything, despite his family's past, he's the only one who can keep you safe. Jenna, I'm sorry about your father. I'm sorry I used you. I'm sorry for everything. Her voice was fading. Be happy, Arya. Be safer than I was. The line went dead. I stood frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. Dominic gently took it from my hand, his fingers warm against mine. She's dead, isn't she? I whispered. Probably. His voice was soft. I'm sorry. My favorite book. She hid it in my favorite book. I looked up at him. It's in my apartment. Pride and Prejudice, the annotated edition my grandmother gave me. I'll send someone. No, I straightened. I'm going. It's my apartment, my book. I'm getting it myself. It's too dangerous. Everything about my life is dangerous now, I shot back. At least, let me have agency in it. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. We'll go together. My men will secure the building first. An hour later, we stood in my ruined apartment. Someone had done a rough repair on the door, but the place felt violated, no longer home. I went straight to my bookshelf, pulling out the worn edition of Pride and Prejudice. As I opened it, a slim flash drive fell into my palm. That's it? Dominic asked. That small thing has caused all this chaos. Data doesn't take up much space, I replied, handing it to him. But it can destroy worlds. He pocketed the drive. We should go. I looked around my apartment one last time, at the life I'd built, modest but mine. I can't come back here, can I? Even after this is over. No, he said gently. I'm sorry. I picked up a few more books, a photo of my grandmother, the quilt from my bed, pieces of my old life to carry into whatever came next. As we left, I noticed something tucked under my door. A white envelope with my name on it in Jenna's handwriting. Inside was a note and a key. Storage Unit 237 at Secure Store on 8th Street. Everything I found about your father is there. You deserve the truth. Dash J double quote. I showed it to Dominic. His expression darkened. It could be a trap. Or it could be answers. I met his gaze. I'm going either way. He sighed. You're going to be difficult, aren't you? Very. Despite everything, he smiled. Good. The storage unit was small, crammed with boxes labeled in Jenna's neat handwriting. Anthony Winters, FBI files, Salvatore family, 1990s. Petrov operations. It was an investigator's dream or nightmare, depending on your perspective. She was investigating my father's death, I said, opening one of the boxes. Inside were photocopies of police reports, FBI documents, newspaper clippings. All this time, she was looking into what really happened. Why? Dominic asked, though I suspected he already knew. I found the answer in a file marked personal. Inside was a photo of a young woman with a little girl. The woman looked like an older version of Jenna. The little girl was about 3, with dark hair and familiar eyes. My eyes. She was my cousin, I whispered. My father's niece. I don't remember her, but I pulled out more photos, family gatherings I was too young to recall. Jenna, a teenager, holding toddler me. She remembered me. She came looking for answers about your father and found you instead, Dominic said quietly, then got pulled into our world trying to get justice. And ended up dead for it. Tears burned my eyes. Everyone who tries to protect me ends up dead. Hey, Dominic turned me to face him, his hands gentle on my shoulders. This isn't your fault. None of it. Your father made his choices. Jenna made hers. Neither of them died because of you. But no. His thumb brushed away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. You're not responsible for other people's decisions. You're only responsible for what you do next. And what do I do next? Whatever you want. His hands dropped, and I immediately missed their warmth. The drive gives us leverage. I can negotiate with the other families, including the Petrovs. Make it clear you're off limits permanently. You could disappear, start over anywhere in the world. Or ... quote. Or stay, I finished. You said that before. But why would you want me to stay? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because in 24 hours you've shown more courage than most people do in a lifetime. Because you're connected to this world, whether you like it or not, and I'd rather have you where I can protect you. And because he met my eyes. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since you made that accidental contact. My heart stuttered. This is insane. You're a mob boss. I'm a librarian. We're from completely different worlds. Your father was an accountant who ended up working for the mob. Your cousin was a regular person who became an information specialist for criminals. He stepped closer. Maybe you're exactly where you're supposed to be. With the son of the family who caused my father's death. With the man who wants to spend the rest of his life making up for that. His voice was rough with emotion. If you'll let me. I should have run. Should have taken the drive as leverage to disappear forever. Instead, I stood in that storage unit surrounded by the ghosts of my past and made a choice that would define my future. One condition, I said. Name it. No more secrets. No more lies. If I'm going to be part of this world, I need to know everything. Everything, he agreed. The good and the bad. And I finished my degree. I'm not giving up who I am just because my life has gotten complicated. A smile tugged at his lips. A librarian in the Mafia. That's a first. Someone needs to organize your files properly, I said, attempting levity. Criminal enterprises probably have terrible information management systems. He laughed, the sound warming something inside me. You have no idea. His phone buzzed. He answered in Italian, his expression growing serious. Victor's people are moving. We need to go. We quickly loaded the most important boxes into his car. As we drove away, I watched the storage facility disappear in the rear mirror, taking the investigation into the past with it. What will happen to Victor? I asked. That depends on what he does next. The drive gives us options. We can negotiate or we can go to war. He glanced at me. What would you prefer? You're asking me. You're the one who's lost the most in this. Your father, your cousin, your normal life. You should have a say in what happens next. I thought about it as we drove through the city. Negotiate. Enough people have died, and maybe it's time for things to change. Change. He said the word like he was tasting it. That's not usually how our world works. Maybe it should be. He reached over, taking my hand. His touch was warm, steady. You're going to shake things up, aren't you? Probably. Good. Back at his estate, we found Victor waiting in the driveway with several of his men. Dominic's security had them surrounded, weapons drawn but not aimed. The tension was thick enough to cut. Stand down. Dominic ordered his men as we exited the car. He approached Victor with the casual confidence of someone who'd faced danger his entire life. You're on my property uninvited. That's bold, even for you. The drive, Victor said simply. We know you have it now. Yes. Dominic pulled the flash drive from his pocket, holding it up. And with it, enough information to destroy your entire operation. Victor's scarred face remained impassive. Or yours. True. Which is why I propose a different solution. Dominic glanced at me, then back to Victor. A new agreement. Updated territories, shared information networks, coordinated operations that benefit everyone. And the girl is under my permanent protection, non-negotiable. Victor studied me with those cold, dark eyes. She knows about her father now, I assume. Yes, I answered for myself, stepping forward despite every instinct screaming at me to hide. I know what your family did. I know what his family allowed. And I know that continuing this cycle of violence won't bring him back. So what do you want? Victor asked, seemingly genuinely curious. I want it to end. The killing, the revenge, the using of innocents as pawns. I met his gaze steadily. I want change. He laughed, but there was no mockery in it. Change. From the mouth of a librarian. Sometimes outsiders see solutions insiders miss, I replied. Victor was quiet for a long moment, then looked at Dominic. You're serious about this? New agreements? Modernization? Completely. The old ways are dying anyway. We can either adapt or be replaced. And if we refuse? Dominic's expression hardened. Then I release the contents of this drive to every law enforcement agency on the East Coast. We all burn together. The two men stared at each other, a silent battle of wills. Finally, Victor nodded. We'll discuss terms. Neutral location. Tomorrow, noon, the Meridian Hotel. Victor turned to leave, then paused, looking back at me. Your father was going to destroy us all with his testimony. You could do the same with that drive. Why don't you? I thought about Jenna, about my father, about all the violence that had brought me to this moment. Because destruction is easy. Building something better is harder, but more worthwhile. He studied me for another moment, then nodded slowly. Perhaps you're right, little bird. Perhaps it's time for change. After they left, Dominic and I stood in the driveway, the weight of what had just happened settling over us. You know this won't be easy, he said. Changing organizations that have operated the same way for generations. Nothing about my life has been easy lately, I replied. But maybe that's okay. Maybe easy isn't what I need. He pulled me into his arms and I let him, feeling safe for the first time since this all began. Stay, he said again, the word a whisper against my hair. Not because you have to, not because it's safer, but because you want to. I pulled back to look at him, this dangerous, beautiful man who'd entered my life through a misdial and changed everything. Yes, I said simply. That night, 6 months ago now, I moved from the guest suite to Dominic's room. We spent hours talking about the future, about plans for modernization, about using information and negotiation instead of violence. It wasn't a fairy tale. We both knew the dangers, the challenges ahead, but it was real, and it was ours. The meeting with Victor led to more meetings with other families, other organizations. Slowly, painfully, things began to change. Not everywhere, not all at once, but enough to matter. The flash drive became a tool for mutual assured protection rather than destruction. Everyone had too much to lose if the information got out. I finished my master's degree, to Dominic's amusement and pride. The first librarian in the Mafia, officially credentialed. I used my skills to organize decades of chaotic information, creating systems that allowed for better coordination and less violence. It was strange work, certainly not what I'd imagined when I'd started my degree, but it mattered. 1 year after that mistaken call, I stood in the same spot where Victor had confronted us, watching the sun set over the estate. Dominic found me there, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Regrets? He asked, echoing a conversation we'd had months before. No, I said, meaning it completely. Every terrible thing that happened, my father's death, Jenna's sacrifice, that terrifying night, it all led me here, led me to you. A misdial that changed everything. I laughed. We're never gonna let that go, are we? Never. It's the foundation of our entire relationship. I turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd saved me and challenged me and changed me in equal measure. I love you, I said, the words still feeling new and precious. And I love you, he replied, his storm-colored eyes soft with emotion. My accidental librarian. Your reformist partner, I corrected. That too. As we stood there, my phone rang. Unknown number. We both looked at it and laughed. Should I answer it? I asked, grinning. Absolutely not, Dominic said, taking the phone and tossing it onto a nearby chair. We've had enough unknown numbers for a lifetime. But later, curious, I did check the message left behind. It was Mrs. Chen from my old building using her grandson's phone, wanting to know if I was well and if I'd like to come for tea sometime. A perfectly innocent call from a concerned neighbor. I saved the number under Mrs. Chen safe and made plans to visit her the following week, bringing Dominic with me. She deserved to know I was okay, that the frightening night she'd witnessed had led to something good. That's the thing about wrong numbers, mistaken calls, accidental contacts. Sometimes they're not mistakes at all. Sometimes they're exactly what we need, exactly when we need them. Sometimes a misdial can save your life, can bring you love, can change not just your world, but the world around you. My name is Arya Winters. I'm a librarian. I'm also the partner of one of the most powerful crime bosses on the East Coast. I organize information that keeps the peace between violent organizations. I'm helping to modernize a world that's existed in shadows for generations. And it all started with one mistaken call. If you enjoyed She Calls the Mafia Boss by Mistake, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling stories where one small mistake changes everything. What did you think about Arya and Dominic's dangerous romance? Let me know in the comments below. Should she have run when she had the chance? Or was staying the right choice? Until next time, remember, sometimes the mistaken contact leads you exactly where you're meant to be.